In the far future, when men had built ships that crossed the stars and planets had names that sounded like poems, there was one man who still carried something small and old. His name was Captain Leon Rains, and around his wrist hung a cracked silver watch that had survived every storm, every battle, and every silence he had known. It was not special to anyone else, but to him, it was the last thing that still ticked in a universe full of machines that hummed but never had hearts. Leon sat alone in the control chair of his ship, the Vigilant. The stars outside did not twinkle here. They stood still, frozen in the deep cold of space. He had been watching them for years, ever since he lost his co-pilot, Aya. She had vanished during a mission through a spatial fold, a strange area where space twisted like a mirror. The ship's log had recorded her last words, "I'll be back when the second hand stops." Then she was gone, and the second hand never stopped. Every night, Leon would stare at the little watch, watching it move. It had survived hundreds of years and still worked without any power source. The engineers of the fleet had called it useless junk, but Leon never let it go. To him, it was proof that something human still had meaning. Then, one quiet rotation while the ship floated above the gas clouds of a dying world, something changed. The lights on the control panel flickered, and the ship's AI, a calm female voice named Iris, spoke. "Captain Rains, I am detecting an unknown signal." Leon looked up. "From where?" "Unknown," Iris said. "It's not coming from any star beacon or transmission network. It's coming from inside the ship," he frowned. "Show me the source." The screen in front of him glowed, and to his surprise, it pointed directly at his wrist. His watch, the one that had never done more than tick, was now shining softly. The glass glowed with a dull golden light, and then the display lit up with words that did not belong there. It read, "The other side of the coin." Leon blinked. The message repeated once, then disappeared. The light faded, and the watch went back to its normal ticking. "Iris," Leon said slowly, "record that sequence." "Already done," the AI replied. "Do you want me to analyze the message?" He nodded. "Do it." There was a pause, then the AI answered. "The coordinates hidden in the pulse match a region beyond the outer belt, near the Coin Nebula. That area is uncharted and highly unstable. No living crew has returned from it." Leon stared at the stars beyond the viewport. The Coin Nebula. The name alone sent a chill through him. He remembered hearing stories about it from other captains, how its shape resembled two mirrored spirals, one bright and one dark, like the two faces of a coin. One side gave light, the other swallowed it. He didn't believe in myths, but he believed in signs. "Iris," he said quietly, "plot a course for those coordinates. Captain, that area is not recommended for entry. Spatial distortions can cause curiosity. Not the kind a soldier feels before a mission, but the quiet kind a human feels before a discovery that could change everything." Hours passed, and he barely moved. The ship crossed light years like seconds. The stars ahead thickened into clouds of gold and gray, the edge of the Coin Nebula. "Iris," he whispered. "Report distance." 2,000 kilometers to the entry zone, the AI said. "I must remind you, our last contact with any vessel in this sector was over 30 years ago. All were lost without trace." Leon smiled faintly. "Then maybe they're waiting on the other side." The AI did not reply. Machines didn't understand hope. He adjusted the straps on his seat and looked once more at the ticking watch. It had stopped glowing now, but the second hand moved with perfect rhythm. Each tick echoed faintly through the quiet cabin, sounding almost like a heartbeat. As the ship crossed into the first layer of the nebula, the universe outside changed. The stars stretched and bent like liquid silver. Colors shimmered, and the space ahead looked like it was folding inward, twisting around itself. Static filled the communication lines, and the lights on the panels dimmed. "Iris," Leon said, "keep recording everything." "Recording," she answered. Warning, time variance detected. "External clocks have frozen." Leon looked at the digital chronometer. It had stopped at 03:14. He looked at his watch. It still moved. He stared at it, whispering under his breath, "You're the only thing still ticking." And then, through the static, he heard it. A faint voice. A woman's voice. "Leon." He froze. The voice came again, soft but real. "Leon, don't stop. Follow the light." His heart began to pound. He recognized that voice. It was Aya. Iris, he said quickly, trace that signal. No source found, the AI said calmly. It does not exist, but Leon already knew it did. It existed in the only place machines couldn't measure, the space between one heartbeat and the next. As the nebula's light swallowed the vigilant, Leon whispered to the stars, Aya, if you're there, I'm coming. The watch is not sending a signal, Iris said softly. It's responding. Something in this region is calling to it. Leon looked at the small object on his wrist. The cracked glass reflected the golden light of the nebula. The watch's ticking was louder now, echoing faintly in the quiet cabin. Every tick seemed to move in rhythm with the soft pulses outside, as if the watch and the nebula shared the same heartbeat. He didn't understand how that was possible, but deep down he felt something human and familiar in it, like hearing a song from long ago. Hours passed. The ship moved deeper. There was no star, no planet, only glowing dust that floated in patterns like slow waves. The sensors showed nothing living, but Leon felt eyes watching him from the light. Sometimes the light moved in shapes, circles, paths, almost like signals. Iris, he said, can you decode the light movements? I cannot, she replied. They are not random, but they do not match any known pattern or language. Leon's voice grew quiet. Maybe they're trying to talk. To whom? Asked Iris. He looked at the reflection of his watch in the glass. To us, then something changed. A soft tremor passed through the ship and the front window darkened for a moment. Out of the mist came something vast, a shape floating slowly made of light and shadow. It looked like a ship, but not any design built by humans. Its body shimmered like liquid glass and its outline kept changing, as if it couldn't decide what form to take. Unknown object ahead, Iris warned. No identification signal. No energy pattern similar to human or alien craft, Leon whispered. It's beautiful. The shape drifted closer, and as it did, his watch pulsed again. 3 short flashes, then a pause, then 3 more. The same rhythm repeated. Leon realized it wasn't random. It was a message. Iris, match the pattern, he said. Amplify and respond. What shall I transmit? Mirror it, Leon said. Whatever it's saying, send it back. The ship's lights blinked 3 times, paused, and blinked again. The large shape stopped moving. The glowing mist around it began to swirl faster, forming a spiral. The 2 spirals, one of light, one of shadow, turned in opposite directions, making it look like a giant coin spinning slowly in the void. Leon felt the ship tremble. What's happening? Energy field increasing, Iris said. Spatial fabric thinning. Captain, this is dangerous, but Leon couldn't look away. He saw something within the spiral, a reflection. It looked like his own ship, the Vigilant, but reversed. Everything mirrored down to the smallest detail. Even he could see his own shadow sitting inside the reflection's cockpit, moving a second later than he did. He raised his hand. The reflection did the same, but slightly behind. Iris spoke again. Captain, I am detecting a second vessel at the same coordinates as ours. But that's not possible. Leon's voice was soft. Maybe it's not another vessel. Maybe it's us. On the other side of the coin. Iris asked. He nodded slowly. The phrase from the watch had finally started to make sense. He leaned closer to the window, studying every detail. The mirrored ship looked real. It had the same cracks, the same burn marks, the same flickering light above the control panel, but something was missing. The seat beside the reflection's captain's chair, where Aya used to sit, was empty. Leon's chest tightened. He reached toward the glass as if he could touch her place through it. The reflection of his hand reached back, slightly delayed, as if the mirror itself was struggling to keep up with him. Suddenly, a faint voice came through the static again. Leon. He froze. The voice was soft, trembling, and distant. It was Aya's, Iris, he said quickly. Trace that sound. Signal origin unknown, the AI replied. It's coming from multiple directions. Or none at all. The voice came again, clearer this time. Leon, you're not supposed to be here. He pressed a hand against the cold glass. Aya, is that you? Her voice was quiet, like a whisper carried through the wind. You have to turn back. It's not what it looks like. Leon's throat tightened. Where are you? No answer came, only a sound that felt like a sigh fading into static. Then his watch ticked once, loudly. The glass fogged and a faint line of light crossed its surface. When it cleared, a new word appeared inside the cracked screen. Wait. He looked around. Aya, are you sending this? No reply. only the watch ticking softly, calm and steady. "Iris," Leon said, his voice trembling slightly. "Are we alone here?" The AI paused before answering. "According to sensors, yes. According to something else, no." Leon smiled faintly at the words. "You're learning to sound human." "I am only responding to your tone," she said. He sat back, staring into the swirling light outside. The mirrored ship was gone now, leaving only the slow movement of the golden mist. Everything was silent again. Leon's eyes fell once more to the watch. The words had faded. Only the ticking remained. He whispered, "Aya, I'll wait." "Morning?" Leon murmured. "If this place even has mornings." "It seemed appropriate to say," Iris replied. He smiled faintly. The AI had begun to sound more human lately, and he wasn't sure if it was learning or just reflecting his own voice back at him. Either way, it made the silence easier to bear. Leon stretched and checked the instruments. The readings were strange, two identical sets of signals overlapping each other. It was like the ship was being mirrored, but one version was slightly delayed. "Iris," he said, "are we reading our own reflection again?" "Affirmative." "The data suggests another vessel with matching structure and energy signature, within 1 kilometer. But I detect no life signs." Leon leaned closer to the screen. The image was faint, but there it was again. The reflection of his own ship drifting beside them. It looked exactly the same, but darker, like a shadow version. He remembered the voice he had heard before, Aya's voice, and the single word that had appeared on his watch. "Wait." He whispered to himself. Wait for what? The reflection moved suddenly. For a moment, Leon thought the ship beside them had come alive. It tilted slightly, like someone inside had touched the controls. The movement was small but unmistakable. His heart began to race. "Iris," he said quickly. "Confirm movement on the mirrored vessel." "Confirmed, but there is no logical source. The other vessel has no heat, no sound, and no power." Leon felt a chill. "Show me the bridge view." The screen brightened, showing the inside of the mirrored ship. It was identical to his own bridge. Same chair, same panels, same empty cup sitting beside the control console. Everything matched perfectly. But then in the reflection, he saw something he didn't expect. A figure sat in the captain's chair. Leon leaned closer. The image was faint like fog, but the outline was clear. It was a woman. Her hair floated softly, her face turned toward him, though her features were blurred. He didn't need to see clearly to know who she was. "Aya," he whispered. "Iris," he said. "Record this. Focus on the reflection." "Recording," Iris confirmed. Leon pressed his hand against the glass. "Aya, can you hear me?" For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then the reflection's head tilted slightly as if she were listening. The air in the bridge grew heavy and a soft static filled the speakers. A voice came through, faint and broken. "Leon, can you see me?" He froze. The sound was weak, like it was traveling across a great distance or maybe across something deeper. "I can," he said softly. "You're alive?" The voice trembled. "I don't know. I think I'm trapped. Inside the seam. The seam? The space between your side and mine. I've been here since the fold. Since the mission. You were right there, but the world turned inside out. I've been watching through the glass, waiting for you to see me." Leon felt his chest tighten. "I never stopped looking. Tell me what to do, Aya. How do I bring you back?" The voice faded for a second, then returned, barely a whisper. "You can't cross yet. If you try, you'll vanish like I did. The watch keeps the line open. Don't let it stop. It's the bridge between us." He looked at his wrist. The watch was ticking faster now, almost trembling. The sound filled the small cabin. "The watch. It connects us." "Yes," she said, her voice growing faint again. "It's not just a watch. It's a recorder of moments. Our last link. Keep it ticking, Leon, as long as it moves, I remember." Her voice faded into static. The image on the screen flickered and the reflection disappeared, leaving only the swirling mist outside. Leon sat still, his hand still against the glass. His heart ached with questions he couldn't ask. Was she real? A memory, a ghost? But no machine could create what he had just heard. The way she spoke, calm, human, gentle, it was her. "Iris," he said after a long silence. "What's your reading?" "I can confirm an audio signal," the AI replied. However, it did not match any known frequency. "The pattern is not digital, it's biological. It matches human brainwave rhythms." Leon blinked. You mean it came from a mind? Yes, or from the echo of one. He leaned back in his chair. Aya's alive. Somewhere. She's alive. Iris didn't respond right away. Then she said, Captain, if I may ask, what do you intend to do? Leon looked at the watch. She told me to wait. So we wait. The ship drifted in silence again. The golden mist wrapped around it like soft ribbons. The ticking of the watch slowed back to normal, steady and calm. Leon closed his eyes and whispered to himself, Hold on. Aya, I'll find the way across. As the Vigilant floated deeper into the nebula, the two halves of the coin spun around them, one light and one shadow. And somewhere between those two faces, something human was holding the line between time, memory, and love. The ship Vigilant moved quietly through the golden fog, its engines humming like a heartbeat in the silence. Leon Rain sat at the control desk, watching the screen where only shifting light appeared. The reflection ship, the ghost version of his own, had vanished again, but the echo of Aya's voice still lingered in his mind. She had said she was trapped in the seam, a place between both sides of reality. The watch on his wrist ticked softly, a rhythm that now felt alive as if it were breathing with her. He couldn't stop thinking about her words. Keep it ticking. As long as it moves, I remember. Leon turned the watch over and looked closely at the old metal. Inside the crack of the glass, faint golden light pulsed in time with the ship's systems. He had no idea how a simple watch could connect two minds across time or universes, but every time he heard that small tick, he felt less alone. Iris, he said quietly, is it possible for a person to exist between two dimensions? The AI paused before answering. In theory, yes, but only as fragments, not a full physical body, more like a memory or echo caught in transition. An echo with a voice? Leon asked. Iris responded, An echo can become more when another mind remembers it. Leon smiled faintly. So maybe I kept her alive by refusing to forget. That is a human way of saying it, Iris said. The captain stared into the window again. The nebula's colors were changing now. The golden glow faded and a darker blue began to spread. It was colder, heavier, almost like dusk. The ship's internal lights dimmed without command. Iris, Leon said, adjust brightness. I cannot. Power fluctuations detected. Something external is drawing energy from us. Leon checked the readings. The drain was small but steady, like something feeding off the ship's pulse. And then he saw it. A faint shadow moving across the glass like a ripple in water. Before he could react, the voice returned, soft and broken. Leon, his heart jumped. Aya? Yes, she whispered. The seam is shifting. I can see you more clearly now. He stood slowly. Where are you? Can I bring you through? Her voice trembled, almost sad. Not yet. The seam is thin but still locked. If you cross now, it will close forever. Both sides will vanish. Then what do I do? Keep your side stable. The watch links us, but it's breaking. It wasn't made for this. Leon looked down. The ticking had slowed. The second hand jerked unevenly, as if the mechanism were struggling. He felt a knot form in his chest. Tell me how to fix it. Aya's voice softened. The energy here runs backward. What lives here remembers instead of forgetting. You must give it something human, something that holds emotion, not logic. Only that will make the seam open safely. Leon frowned. Something human? Yes, she said, her voice growing faint. It doesn't understand machines or numbers, but it understands memory, love, and pain. That's how I've survived this long, by remembering you. He took a deep breath. Then I'll do the same. I'll give it everything I remember about you. Her voice faded like wind through a door. Be careful, Leon, if you give too much. You might forget who you are. I won't, he whispered, but the fear in his heart was real. When the connection went silent, Leon sat at the console and opened a small recording panel. Iris, he said, link the watch to the ship's memory core. That will risk data loss. I know, he said. Do it anyway. There was a pause, then a soft reply. Link established. Leon closed his eyes and began to speak softly. Her name was Aya. She used to laugh when the engines failed. She said space sounded like the ocean when you listened carefully. She loved to watch the storms on Jupiter from the observation deck. She never liked to say goodbye. She always said, see you on the next turn. As he spoke, the light from the watch grew brighter. It pulsed with warmth glowing through his fingers. The air around the cabin shimmered slightly, like heat waves in summer. Iris spoke, her tone almost human. "Captain, the seam's energy has changed. The field around the ship is stabilizing." Leon kept speaking. She was brave. She wasn't afraid of the unknown. "When we lost the fold signal that day, she told me not to worry. She said, 'Time is just a stubborn mirror.'" Then suddenly the watch clicked loudly and stopped ticking. Leon's breath caught. "No, come on, stay with me." He tapped the glass gently, but it stayed still. The ship trembled. The entire room darkened, and outside the window a faint outline appeared. Aya's face formed out of the swirling light. She was smiling, but her eyes looked sad. "Leon," she said softly, "you remembered enough. I can cross now." He felt tears sting his eyes. "You'll come back?" "Yes," she said, "but you have to let the watch go. It can't hold both sides anymore." He looked down at it, his last link to her, the small piece of time that had kept him sane. "If I let it go, will I lose you again?" Her voice was calm. "No, you'll just stop waiting. And I'll finally arrive." Leon hesitated for a long moment. Then he unfastened the strap and held the watch in his palm. The light from it was bright now, warm like sunlight. He whispered, "If this brings you back, then take it." He opened his hand and the watch floated upward, rising gently through the air. It drifted toward the window, glowing brighter and brighter until it vanished into the nebula's light. The ship grew still. The panels flickered back to life. The air felt warmer. And then he heard it, a single quiet heartbeat through the speakers. "Leon," said the voice, clear and strong this time. He turned toward the sound. There, standing in the light of the console, was Aya, her form faint like a projection, but her eyes alive. She smiled. "You did it." Leon took a slow breath, his heart full. "Welcome home, Isapir, Aya." He whispered. She smiled faintly. "You look the same," she said, her voice warm and calm. "Still tired, still stubborn?" Leon laughed softly, his voice trembling. "I could say the same. I thought I had lost you forever." "I thought I was gone too," she said. "For a long time there was only silence. No light, no time. I kept seeing flashes, your face, the ship, the watch. It was like living inside a memory that refused to fade." He nodded slowly. "You were in the seam. Between both sides." "Yes," she said. "It's like standing inside a mirror, waiting for someone on the other side to believe you're still real." Leon's eyes softened. "Then maybe believing brought you back." Aya looked down at her hands. They were slowly becoming more visible. "Not just belief. You gave me your memories, your heart. The watch carried them across. That's why it worked." Leon looked at the spot where the watch had floated away. "And now it's gone," Aya smiled sadly. "It was only meant to bridge the space between us. You gave it everything it needed." He nodded, though part of him still ached at the loss. That little watch had been his anchor for years, the only sound that reminded him of humanity in the silence of deep space. Iris, the ship's AI, broke in softly. "Captain, I am detecting strong energy readings from within the ship. The seam around us is unstable." Aya turned to look at the main window where the coin nebula spun slowly, its two halves, light and shadow, touching at the center. "The seam is opening," she said quietly. "That's good. But it won't last long." Leon stepped forward. "What happens when it closes?" "If it closes while we're still in it," Aya said, "we'll both be trapped, neither fully alive nor gone." Leon took a deep breath. "Then we get out, together." Aya's eyes softened, but there was something behind them. Worry. "It's not that simple. The watch didn't just open the seam, it linked us. My energy and your life are connected now. If we cross the seam the wrong way, it could destroy one of us." He stared at her. "Then we'll find the right way." "I'm not losing you again." The ship trembled, and outside waves of blue and gold light twisted together like threads being pulled tight. Iris spoke again. "Captain, external gravity fields are folding. We are being drawn toward the nebula's core." Leon rushed to the controls. "Hold us steady, Iris. Keep the ship level." "Attempting," she said, her voice calm despite the rising alarms. Aya moved beside him, her form glowing brighter with each pulse of energy. "It's calling us," she said softly. "What is?" Leon asked. "The heart of the coin," she said. "Where both sides meet. That's where the seam began, and where it must end." Leon turned to her. "You mean we have to go into it?" She nodded slowly. It's the only way to make the connection stable. If we reach the center, we can merge both sides and the seam will close safely. But we have to do it together. He looked at her, at the faint shimmer of light in her face, and nodded. Then we go. He gripped the ship's control levers and the Vigilant began to move forward, deeper into the heart of the Coin Nebula. The light outside grew brighter, swirling in endless patterns. The ship creaked as gravity shifted, pulling them toward the center. Aya stood near the window, her eyes reflecting the glow. Leon glanced at her. What's it like? Being between worlds? Aya smiled faintly. Lonely. You can see everything but can't touch anything. You can hear voices but can't speak back. It's like shouting across an ocean and hoping someone's still listening. He said softly, I was listening, every day. Her smile deepened. I know. That's why I found my way back. The ship jolted suddenly. The alarm screamed and Iris's voice filled the cabin. Warning, gravitational field collapse in progress. Core proximity at 90%. Energy spike incoming. Leon steadied the controls, his hands firm. Hold it, Iris. Keep the balance. Then through the blinding light they saw it. The core of the Coin Nebula. It was not a planet, not a star, but something alive spinning slowly. It looked like two mirrors pressed together, glowing at their edges. One side showed the world of light, the other of shadow. And in the very center was a narrow path of silver light, thin as a thread but bright enough to burn through the dark. Aya turned to him. That's it, the seam's heart. Once we pass through it, both sides will become one. Leon nodded. Then let's finish this. He guided the ship toward the path, his heart pounding. The light grew stronger, washing everything in gold. The panels flickered and the air hummed. Aya's form began to fade slightly. Aya, he called out. Stay with me. She smiled calmly, though her outline was flickering. I'm here. I'll always be here. Just don't stop believing. He reached toward her, and for the first time since she returned, he felt her fingers touch his hand. The warmth was real, human. The ship crossed into the seam's center. The light exploded around them, bright, silent, endless. The AI's voice faded. The alarm stopped, and everything became still. Leon felt weightless. The ship no longer moved, but he wasn't afraid. Aya's hand tightened around his. She whispered softly, This is the balance point. Hold on, Leon, we're almost through. He nodded, his eyes fixed on hers. Together. Outside, the two halves of the Coin Nebula began to merge, the shadow and light folding into one brilliant glow. The universe held its breath as the seam closed. And for the first time since the beginning, both sides became whole. The light that surrounded the Vigilant was so bright that Leon could no longer see the ship's walls. Everything had turned into white and gold, flowing like liquid sunlight. The sound of the engines had vanished, replaced by a deep hum that seemed to come from the stars themselves. Aya's hand was still in his, warm and steady, though her body shimmered faintly as if she were made of air and memory. Leon didn't know if they were still moving. There was no sense of speed or direction, only light, and that soft hum that felt like the heartbeat of the universe. Aya, he said quietly, where are we now? She looked around, her expression calm. We're in the seam's heart. This is where everything connects. Space-time, memory, it all meets here. But we can't stay long. It won't hold forever. He nodded slowly. Then we finish what we came for. Aya stepped closer. There's one last thing we need to do, she said softly. To make the bridge between both sides complete, one of us must anchor it. Leon frowned. Anchor it? What does that mean? It means, she said gently, one of us must stay in the seam, become part of it. The seam needs a living link to remember both sides, to keep them whole. Without that, it will tear open again. Leon's heart sank. You can't mean, she smiled sadly. It's the only way. The watch kept us connected, but now it's gone. Something human has to take its place. He shook his head. No, we both go back together. Her eyes softened. You've already given too much. I'm only here because of your memories. I was never supposed to return fully. The seam borrowed your heart to make me real again. If we both leave, it will collapse. Leon took a deep breath. Then I'll stay. You go back. Aya's expression turned to quiet pain. Leon, no. You belong to the living. You have a world to return to. The seam needs someone who already lives between both sides. That's me. He gripped her hand tightly. You were human once. You are human. She smiled faintly. Maybe I was. But I've become something else now. something that remembers both light and shadow. Leon wanted to argue, but as he looked at her, he saw the truth. The light was already passing through her. She was becoming part of the seam itself. Her outline flickered softly, glowing from within. "Iris," Leon called out. "Can you hear me?" The AI's voice returned, distant but steady. "I am here, Captain. The ship's systems are stable. We are suspended inside an energy field." "Prepare to exit the seam," Leon ordered. "Set the return course," Aya turned to him. "You'll have to go alone. The field won't allow 2 full energies to leave." He looked at her, his voice trembling. "I can't just leave you behind again." She reached out and touched his face gently. Her hand felt warm like sunlight. "You won't lose me. Not this time. I'll still be here, in the seam, in the light, and in every moment you remember me." Leon's throat tightened. "You sound too calm about this." Aya smiled softly. "I've had years to make peace with it. I just never thought I'd get to say goodbye." He took her hands, holding them tightly, afraid to let go. "Then don't say goodbye. Just tell me you'll be waiting." She nodded, her eyes glistening. "Always." The hum around them grew louder. The white light began to shift, folding inward. Leon felt the pull of gravity returning, the weight of space drawing him back toward the real world. Aya's fingers began to slip from his. "Aya," he called out, his heart pounding. She smiled, her voice calm and clear. "Remember me, Leon. As long as you remember, the bridge will never break." And then, like a ripple of light, she was gone. Leon stood alone, surrounded by the fading glow. The hum turned into silence. Slowly, the light dimmed, revealing the dark cabin of the Vigilant once more. The ship's controls blinked back to life, and the stars returned outside the window. He felt the familiar vibration of the engines, the soft breath of the air filters, the quiet tick of machinery. Everything was as it had been, except for the emptiness beside him. "Iris," he whispered. "Status report." "All systems normal," the AI said softly. "We have exited the Coin Nebula. You are in human space again." Leon looked at his hands. They were trembling slightly. He reached instinctively for his wrist, but of course the watch was gone. Only a faint circle of pale skin remained where he had worn it for years. "Captain," Iris continued, "energy readings indicate a residual frequency following the ship. It matches the seam's pattern, though weaker." Leon smiled faintly. "She's still here, isn't she?" The AI paused before answering. "Perhaps. There is an intermittent signal, faint but consistent. It aligns with the phrase you once recorded, the other side of the coin." He looked out the window. Far in the distance, the Coin Nebula glowed faintly, smaller now, like a golden coin spinning against the endless dark. For a moment he thought he saw something move, a flicker of light shaped like a figure watching him from within. Leon whispered, "See you on the next turn." He leaned back in his chair and closed his eyes. The hum of the engines filled the silence again. It was peaceful now, almost like a heartbeat. Time passed, hours, maybe days. The stars stretched ahead, endless and familiar. Leon felt tired, but not broken. The ache of loss was there, but it wasn't heavy anymore. It felt gentle, like a memory that refused to fade. He spoke softly to the air. "Iris, keep the seam's frequency open, just in case she ever calls again." "Understood, Captain," the AI replied. "Shall I name the signal file?" Leon smiled. "Name it Aya." The AI confirmed the command, and the ship continued its silent journey through the stars. Outside, the last glimmer of the Coin Nebula shimmered one more time before fading into the distance. And though Leon could no longer see her, he felt her presence in the rhythm of the ship, in the hum of the engines, and in every quiet second that passed, like a heartbeat ticking softly on the other side of time. Years passed quietly after the Vigilant returned from the Coin Nebula. Captain Leon Rains no longer commanded fleets or attended the meetings of the Space Council. He had left all of that behind. The ship still drifted among the stars, but now it moved slowly, almost peacefully, guided only by the old hands of a man who had seen too much light and shadow. The once strong captain had grown older, his hair silver like starlight, but his eyes still held the same calm determination. The universe around him had changed. Trade routes expanded, colonies grew, and people spoke less about the strange mysteries of deep space. The Coin Nebula had become a forbidden zone, marked on every map as unstable and dangerous. But Leon knew better. He knew there was more beyond that light, something that couldn't be written on a chart or recorded by machines. He had seen it. He had felt it. Every evening he sat by the observation window where the stars looked close enough to touch. The ship's AI, Iris, still spoke softly when needed, but most of the time she stayed quiet, respecting his silence. There was one small program that ran constantly in the background, a weak signal marked simply as AA. It sent out a steady pulse every few hours, like a quiet heartbeat. Sometimes, when the hum of the engine slowed, Leon would think he heard her voice in the static. Just a whisper, a breath, a word like "still here." He never replied aloud. He simply nodded, knowing that she would somehow understand. One day, the Vigilant picked up a transmission from a nearby research ship. The young voice of a scientist filled the air. "Unidentified vessel, this is the Orpheus 7. We are on approach to the Coin Nebula. Our team is studying its unique energy field. Please confirm your identity." Leon leaned forward, surprised. "This is Captain Leon Rains of the Vigilant." "You're heading into the nebula?" The young scientist sounded cheerful. "Yes, sir. Our instruments show that the energy there has stabilized in recent years. It seems safe now." Leon's eyes softened. "Safe," he repeated quietly. "You don't know what waits in there." The scientist paused. "With all respect, sir, it's one of the most fascinating structures in the galaxy. Two symmetrical energy spirals, always in perfect balance like two sides of a coin." Leon felt a small smile touch his lips. "Yes," he said softly. "That's what it is." After ending the call, he sat quietly for a long time. The nebula, the place where light and shadow met, where Aya had become part of something greater than space itself. He could almost see it from here, faint, golden, distant. It still shimmered at the edge of his screens like a memory refusing to die. "Iris," he said finally, "set a course for the Coin Nebula." The AI paused.
"Captain, are you certain?"
"You have not returned there in over 20 years. "I know," Leon said, "but I think it's time." The ship turned slowly and the stars began to shift. The old engines came alive, humming softly like a familiar song. As the nebula grew larger on the horizon, Leon felt his heart beating faster. It was not fear. It was something else. Anticipation. Hours later, the Vigilant reached the edge of the Coin Nebula. The view was breathtaking. Two spirals of gold and silver light turned slowly in the dark just as before, but now they looked peaceful, not wild. The once chaotic energy seemed calm, as if it had found its balance. Leon spoke softly. "Iris, keep the ship steady. Open the AYA channel." "Channel open," the AI replied. No response yet. Leon stood by the window, staring at the glowing mist. His reflection stared back at him, older, worn, but still human. He touched the glass gently. "Aya," he whispered. "I'm home." The nebula pulsed once, just once, sending a wave of golden light through the dark. The instruments flickered, and the AYA channel crackled with faint static. Then through the noise came a voice he knew better than his own. "Leon." It was soft, distant, but unmistakable. Aya's voice filled with warmth and calm. Leon smiled. "You've been waiting. Always," she said gently. "The seam has held. Both sides are whole now. I'm part of it, the balance, the bridge. Every time someone passes through, I see their light." He closed his eyes. "I knew you would keep it alive." "I kept you alive too," she said with a soft laugh. "Your signal still echoes here. You never really left." Leon's eyes grew moist. "Then maybe I'm home already." There was silence for a moment. Then Aya's voice came again, softer, almost like a breeze. "Come and rest, Leon. The bridge is open. You've done enough." He stood quietly, looking at the heart of the nebula. The light there seemed to pulse in rhythm with his heartbeat. He felt peace washing over him, peace he hadn't felt in years. "Iris," he said quietly, "set the ship to drift mode." "No engines," the AI hesitated. "Captain, are you certain?" "Yes," he whispered. "Let's just drift." The hum of the engine slowed, then stopped. The Vigilant glided silently into the golden light. The ship's panels dimmed and the stars faded into a soft glow. Leon sat in his chair, watching the light fill the room. He smiled as he felt warmth spread through him. It was not heat from the engines, it was something deeper, something human. The AYA signal pulsed one last time. "Leon," her voice said, almost a whisper now, "it's time to come home." He closed his eyes, his hand resting on the arm of the chair. "I'm coming," he murmured. Outside, the ship disappeared slowly into the golden mist. The coin nebula pulsed once more, brighter than ever, as if welcoming an old friend home. Centuries later, when a salvage team explored the area, they found a single object drifting near the edge of the nebula, a small silver watch, still ticking softly, its second hand moving backward in perfect rhythm. Inside the cracked glass, a faint hologram glowed, a man and a woman standing hand in hand, surrounded by golden light. The report recorded a single note. It doesn't contain anything else. But the watch did contain something. Time, love, and the quiet proof that humanity had once reached beyond life itself and found a home on the other side of the coin.